Hey everyone, Cary Kolat here on Ask Kolat, presented by Rudis. Question I had this week was, what kind of coach did I prefer, and what kind of coach do I think I am, or what my style is? So I was an amped up guy. Like, I didn't need somebody smacking me in the face to get me ready, because I was already smacking myself in the face to get ready. I was getting psyched up before I went out to compete. So probably the bad combination for me would have been somebody trying to fire me up, right? What I needed was somebody calming. Like, I needed a calming presence, and I think it's my personality. It could have also been how I started in wrestling. My dad was a big believer in coaching in the room and not coaching mat side. Like, it was at that point you were on your own. So maybe that kind of shaped my mindset to it. But the first coach to really have a big impact on me, I think, in my career when things got serious was obviously my high school coach, Ron Headlee. He was an elementary gym teacher. I had him in gym class when I was a kid. Very seldom did he ever yell. Very seldom did he ever get upset. And he was just a really calming guy. And so that's what I needed, in my corner. I needed somebody when I was getting, fired up or maybe too hyped up, where I could start making mistakes. He was that guy to say, slow down a little bit, And then the next person to have a big impact on my career is Bruce Burnett. And Bruce will always be one of the top coaches of my career. When I left high school, I went through college, and I kind of felt like in the college phase that I didn't really build a real connection with a lot of the coaches that I came involved with all the time. Achiro Oishi, I had a big connection with. He was, he's that guy. He would, as soon as you complained you were hurt or something, he doubled down the pain on you, and I respected that. He'd push you and he wouldn't let you out. So I had a connection with him. But when I went international, I think is when I got that connection back of somebody I really needed in my corner. So Bruce Burnett, the story with him and our relationship with, he was with me for that 4-year span when I was trying to, become the best in the world. But before I met him, I had a big wall in front of me because of him. I didn't like him. I felt like he played favorites because he was the national team coach. And back then, we didn't have all these training camps that we have now. The only time they got the number ones and the number twos together was before the World Championships and Olympic Games. I was a college guy trying to bust through, and, I could be anywhere from third, fourth, and fifth. And I just felt like I wasn't getting any love, basically from Bruce. So when I made my first world team, he flew me out to the OTC for some testing. And during that testing, he sat me down, and and I already didn't like the guy. I wasn't sure how I felt about him. And, and Bruce was in a hard spot because as a national team coach, you only got a couple weeks a year with the best guys in the country. So he couldn't really build relationships with the third, fourth, and fifth guy. It wasn't his fault. But, when you're a competitor, you think everybody's against you half the time. And he sat me down and he said, Kolat, I've been watching your video, and you need to spend more time on your front headlock. So not only did I have a wall with this guy, I also thought he was an idiot because I felt like my front headlock was the best in the country as far as I was concerned. But what Bruce had done was he had watched video of me from international events that happened over in Europe. And I'd only won one event at this point in my career. And I was thinking in my mind in college when I got a guy's head down. I made my first world team my senior year, so I was still in that little bit coming off that college mindset. I got your head down, I scored on you. Domestically, with the open level guys making my world team, I felt like the majority of the time if I got your head down, I scored on you. But I couldn't argue with Bruce's facts because watching my international events where I hadn't won much, when I got a guy's head down, I wasn't scoring. I wasn't getting around on the guy. So I still had the wall, but I could respect his facts. Like, you can't argue with facts. So that started to tear down that wall on his part, So we got a plan. We worked on the front headlock. But the reason I come back to a calming presence is because I'm an amped up person. I don't need you screaming at me because I'm already screaming at myself internally. And there was a match in the World Championships where I found myself down 7-0. And this is when we just went back to 2 3-minute periods. And, I'd been taken down over and over again by this Russian. And I think, the score was 7-0, 8-0. and I'm laying down in the parterre position. There's maybe 30 seconds on the clock, and I'm looking at my corner. I'm already frustrated with myself, and I see all these guys jumping around, and I see Bruce leaning on the stage, and I still remember him leaning out, and he kept saying my name, Cary, Cary, Cary. He said it till he finally got my attention. Once he got my attention, he said, "Hey, just get 1 point." In this middle of a match, right? He said, "Just get 1 point," almost like a whisper. You know, get 1 point right now on the board. So I remember we still had the escape point back then. I got hand control. I stood up. I cut away. Got 1 point. Period ended. Went to the corner. You know, and I remember Bruce specifically telling people, just be quiet. And him just saying, "Look, we got 1 point on the board. This guy's starting to fade. Now it's time to turn it up. We don't have to get all the points in the first minute. Just keep letting them unfold as the match goes on." And that was the coach for me. Right, that was the person I needed in the corner, because I was already ready to go. I was already fired up enough. I mean, imagine this. Imagine a guy coming off a mat where he's down 7-1, and you come to the corner and he's frantic. He's just all over you. Do this, do this. It's probably not going to work. As a coach now, you know, part of that question is, so what do I think? Look, I'm an amped up person. I can get out of the chair. I can get excited. But what I try to do is this, you know, and emotions take over a lot when you're in a big match. You know, maybe a guy hits a big move or something, you might come out of your chairs. But what I try to pay attention to when I'm in the corner is if I see one of my assistants getting more vocal, and that kid is responding to that guy, that's what I try to do is step back. Or there's times where I tell somebody else, "Hey, you let me talk." You know, 3 people can't be yelling. That's impossible. That's not going to work. Somebody's got to be driving the bus in the coaching seats, and maybe driving the bus is being vocal, or maybe the driving the bus is being calm for that guy. And if you're a coach watching this, you probably have never done this. You probably never sat down with your athletes and said, "Hey, what do you want in the corner from me? Is there something specific?" For me, I can tell you, I used to tell everybody, if Bruce wasn't in my corner and you were the guy in my corner, and Bruce had already instructed everybody, he knew what every guy wanted. You know, the thing that I needed to hear on a consistent basis, if you were coaching me, "Cary, move your hands, move your feet." That's something I always wanted to hear. I wanted that reminder over and over and over again, because I knew I could outlast people. So I always wanted that in there. And if you're a coach, I think you need to have that meeting. You need to sometimes sit down and say, "What do you want in the corner? There's something specific you want from me? If I get loud, does it help you?" I can tell you this, if I was doing a conditioning workout, and conditioning workouts are you're just trying to drive yourself into the ground. You're just trying to get in great shape. You're trying to wear out your muscles and hurt your heart and hurt your lungs and see how long you can sustain it, so you have the confidence to go into competition and compete. I don't yell in my ear. I didn't need anybody yell. In fact, if you yelled in my ear, I might get off the bike and say, "Shut up." You know, like, I didn't need that. It was just annoying to me. I was already driving it. You know, you saying something to me, that didn't get me going. I needed calm. I needed facts. You know, I needed direction. And if I liked the direction, I'd go on that path. I couldn't do it in chaos. You know, so anyway, if you're a coach, have that conversation. That's what I prefer. That's how I try to coach. Doesn't mean it always happens. You get emotionally involved. It happens. But anyway, keep the questions coming. TheRudis.com, Kolat.com. Hopefully you enjoy these things. I enjoy doing them. Put them on Twitter. You know, fire them out, and I'll try to answer them as best I can and help you along. Have a good night.